plus Rise, the space where we excavate the extraordinary from the heart of challenge. I'm your host, Thomas Scaria, and if you're feeling the pull towards a deeper purpose, a more impactful legacy beyond the peaks that you've already conquered, you're in the right space. Just because, like 26.2 Transformative Miles, I explore in my book, life's most significant chapters often begin when we begin to dare redefine our finish line. And yes, this book is available to buy. There was a statement I just used few seconds before, a pull towards a deeper purpose. What if the answers you have been seeking for for something lie beyond the conventional? This week on Resilience Rise, I have a truly unique human, Christie Flynn. She's a psychic medium who offers executive level guidance, clarity, and a profound connection to the unseen. Imagine gaining insights that cut through the noise, revealing the blind spots you did not know even existed. That's about Christine. She works around with leaders, teams, individuals for a deeper level of understanding, supporting strategic clarity, intuitive leadership, emotional resilience, and energy alignment. If you're expecting a conventional conversation and thinking in the next half an hour, be prepared to be surprised. With this, welcome, Christy. Welcome to Resilience Plus Rise.
Thank you, Thomas. A pleasure, honor to be here and share this space and conversation. I loved what you said just before we started recording, was to allow the conversation to play out in the way it's supposed to play out today.
Very much.
Unscripted is the best way, right?
Let's, yeah, that's because, yeah, it is good to be prepared and have a script, etc. But as per what I have believed, some of my most beautiful conversations have come in is that just being open and understanding what is out over there. And it's amazingly wonderful. Anyway, Christy, so tell me about yourself and the space that you are in.
Well, I think I would just want to dial it back a little bit to explain where this all kind of started. I do believe that I've always had a strong connection since as far as I can remember. I always felt like I was part of something bigger than myself, but at a young age, I couldn't, even understand what that could be. And then further along in my life, when I was having experiences of loss, my first loss was my grandfather when I was 19, and I had a vision of him kind of moving over the mountains as if he was coming to me. I had a feeling or knowing that he had already passed. And at the time, I was in Vancouver in Whistler Blackcomb skiing. But he came to me in an evening, and I didn't know what that was all about, and just felt like we had a conversation, an inner conversation at that time. And then it just kind of left. We get so disconnected from who we are. As a child, our nature really kind of comes out, and this idea of societal pressures, who we need to become, who we need to be, kind of shuts us down. And then leading up to my mother's passing in 2003, I kind of feel like in that hindsight, I was preparing for what was about to happen, and then had that nudge that something was very seriously wrong with her, and took her to the hospital. And then it was uncovered she has stage 4 cancer. So I'm glad I had that nudge, that feeling that it, followed to get her the help that she needed. And something really, really powerful happened to me the day that she passed, in that when we were driving, my family, my brother and my sister happened to arrive, within a short time before she passed. But the drive home, I remember looking at the sunshine and then just this kind of explosion of energy and light within my mind and with everything. And I could see energy everywhere. It's just this beautiful, magical dance around everything. And then I knew in that moment something had happened. And we call these catalysts, these kind of it can be micro catalysts that kind of break us open, these painful experiences, or not so much. We're born and understand. Some are born and understand it and get it right away. And then it just kind of quieted down for a while. And then other kind of personal experiences happened. And it came to me as if this is what I was supposed to do. In between my coaching sessions that I'd had already been doing for many, many, many years, and people coming to me in spirit, or it's almost undescribable in a way. Just know things, feel things, see things, and have an understanding of what's going on with people's energy is everything, and energy is in everyone. So I'm speaking or connecting with that long, long lost language of that unseen, unheard in the physical sense, is a language of love, language of light, language of the soul. And so that's what I'm connecting with. And it's the most beautiful thing. How does it all happen? It just does. And with every client that I'm working with, it's different. We interact differently. It's never the same. Each session is just kind of beautiful, magical, in an otherworldly sense. And I am without a goal other than to help and lead people to where they're supposed to be, and clear out these notions, ideas, feelings, emotions of fear, judgment, expectation, which is not of love, and to guide them to a place where they guiding. I'm here as a guide to support my client's highest self. And I pick up on a lot of information before the sessions, during the sessions. It's a conversation.
Wonderful. There was a couple of words that you used, but let me just hone on to, for humans, there's this beautiful word which they hold very deeply to, which they believe that's their way they are, judgments.
Mm,
When, and again, when humans or people around, we are in its own way, we are siloed by our own thought process. We see in our own three-dimensional way. We talk about just the materialist things. Yes, there is spiritual aspects also, but even for people who are there in that special, sorry, a spiritual realm,
mm,
they don't have that faith that something is there on the other side that is helping or present around them, that's helping them. So when you are in the space and when people they come with their own judgment, etc., and you are a coach,
mm,
there are different questions that comes there. How do you interact with them, or what do you just let it be and allow people to make their own decision, or do you know that, you know what, I know you are in pain. I can help you. So, how does that work?
Well, like I explained, I'm 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 conversing at that soul to soul level.
Hmm.
So whatever a person's feeling, experiencing mentally, emotionally, physically, I'm picking up on. So when I say, I know you're feeling this way, it's about unraveling these emotional, mental blocks. Um, they can't hide. Let's say
Yeah.
they can't hide. So they're quite surprised when I identify those deepest conversations that they're having with themselves. So when we go to that place and have a conversation, it at the end of the day, you have nothing to lose but be true to yourself and do and be and become who you are meant to become here. Uh, it's pushing the noise away. People, you know, again, those judgments, expectations away, and just leading them back to who they are, why they're here, and where they can go. Right. And there's some people that may say, I can guide and show people this information, and there's potential, there's possibility for them to have this, life of experience, beautiful experiences, ups and downs. We all have ups and downs. um, but showing them that they have that potential to move through whatever is going on and to trust themselves. We've lost this feeling, this knowing of trusting ourselves. So it's leading them back to that. Uh, and I wanted to touch on free will. I can say all these things and share what they already know with themselves to do, and they are to choose to just kind of either to sit back and to disengage with life, um, or to lean in, to jump in. It's courage is that line between the those belief systems and the possibility of showing them back to their own light and love. It's back to the light. It's back to love. It's back to possibility. So conversations, just continuing to have those conversations to move them out of an experience, because habits and behavior kind of ingrained. So the conversations, and I'm able to just kind of go in energetically and dissolve these emotions, these feelings. So they are able to step out, empowering, giving people that big push. Yeah.
So, Christine, here you had this intuitive feeling a few years back when your grandfather passed away, and then when your mother passed away, and now that you have been honing on it. But have you always been intuitive? And if this came in, okay, there is a sense of there's something which is allowing a sense of, as you mentioned, a beautiful catalyst, some energy that is kind of dancing around. Usually, when we look into it, at times we may feel kind of odd, awkward because we are not. I'm seeing it from my own perception that
Mhm.
this is something different. Okay, I feel good. I feel something is happening, but once it starts happening regularly, I feel something which is not, which is kind of unsettling. How did you hone on these skills that it has become a part of you, that you are open to receive that energy, that love, that trust, that sense of being that you are? How did you build up? Or was it always there right from childhood that you've been going around, you know something is happening? What is that story about?
I can relay it back to my experiences growing up camping, and my parents, my grandmother, we would live on the lake, at the lake or cottage, um, since a young age. I believe as far back as 3, where that connection to nature, that quiet place of creation, play, using imagination to explore, um, that inner world within the mind. That's not just the logical mind, it's that the opposite, the sense of creativity and imagination, the right side of the brain. And just go within myself to feel, know, and even all the senses, just having that deep connection. I remember playing with my echo as if I knew someone was on the other side.
Okay.
Um, and I used to do that all the time. I think that being alone, or for the sake of being alone, not lonely, really cultivated that deeper connection within myself. So we're talking about a time before technology. Play
Okay.
is that spark. So I'll say it's always been there. We all have intuition, intuiting, right? We think about, we are an instruments, we are energetic beings, right? We're instruments to transmit and receive information. You think about, uh, it's information, data, at the micro level, that subatomic level. So I could go into
Okay.
the science, which breaking it apart, but it's always been there, to answer your question,
So when it came to the recent past,
right?
wherein you realize that that skill you have discovered, there can be different ways that you can be looking at it. It can be frightening,
Mm,
it can be overwhelming, it
mm.
can be, we can look at it with curiosity, or the words that you have been beautifully putting about, we can accept it with love and trust that this is something which is happening around for me, not to me.
Yes.
So can you say about what's been happening in the recent past, that once it started, that light spectrum of light or that energy started coming within you?
I definitely feel a big part of it was when I was started writing to my mother in my journal. I
Hmm.
could feel her or sense her around me, and that writing kind of cultivated a time, almost like a meditative, um, holding space, for me to go within and have these conversations I thought I was making up. Uh, again, I say it comes through imagination. And then that was, there's so many pieces that kind of cultivated it. Meditation is a big piece, whether it was in nature or studying transcendental meditation, where I'm holding space for that going deep and transcending and having this conversation and asking these weird questions beyond my mother. Who else is here? I know when I've had these experiences where loved ones, people, animals, or energies that have come to me, uh, I wanted to reverse engineer it and go to them. So asking questions and 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 going into that experience and playing with imagination and into, I want to say intuiting, just sensing information, whether I saw pieces of information, felt, knew, heard, smelt pieces of information. It started to create these stories. I just knew things. And so I would say transcendental meditation, holding space for it twice a day, if not more, having meetings with my team, my dream team, and cultivating it as a relationship.
Okay.
It's a relationship.
So when you talk about the dream team, is it the energies or is it the physical dream team that you have got?
Oh, I've got both.
Okay, fair enough. Guys, I will be putting out Christie's connection in our comments down below. So do have a look or check it out. And if it stirs within you, do reach out to her. A question which comes here is that so when you talk about energies, we always talk about the yin and the yang, the good and the bad. So there would be times that it's not that only the good energy comes in. Sometimes there could be energy which is not very good,
Mm,
as what we sometimes we call it as the dark forces or
mm.
whatever it is. Do you have experience on that? Again, if you do not want to talk about it, we can move on to the next question.
I see everything as the same. So
Oh.
there's light and dark within everything, right? I have only ever experienced light and love with of all the years. I've been in a professional medium for over 10 years now, and all the time I've never had any negative experience. People call I've dealt with the idea of hauntings, which is still an energy form, human form, in my experience, who wanted to share a story. And some people are just, they don't understand. When we don't understand, what do? It's fear, we reject. So I held space for a conversation to see, I'm thinking of a particular person, just to better understand what had happened. And then, uh, you know, it was all based love, peace, just wanting to share his story. And yeah, I it's really important to discern when you're going into if you're really delving into intuition, whether it is of love or the opposite.
Hmm.
So if it's based in love, that is for you. If it's based in something other than that, that is not of your for your highest good or of your highest good, is to send it away. We'll say send it away. I'll say I asked my team take care of that. And
Okay.
um, yeah, it's important to discern if this ego is this of love or ego, and what feels right and good. And when you go into those darker, experiences or energies, it's to reject and push away.
Wow. Of course, when you talk about being in love, I'm always reminded about Marianne Williamson, wherein she had written in the book Return to Love. And she mentions that every energy is made of love, but we have forgotten what love is all about. We have given a definitive meaning when love does not have a definitive meaning.
I love that you said that. And I would like to explain something that I think is really important, is that if you think of your soul as being, the core of you, if you were to look up the Spanish word of soul, which is of light, SOL or SOUL, it's animated, it's energetic, it's of the sun, of the light, and it is our breath, right? We think about to aspira, to breathe. The breath is what animates our soul. So when we stop breathing, we stop disconnecting from ourself. We disconnect from that part of us. So if you're in a place that isn't good, we talk about the breath. Just going to the breath is such an important way to animate, to energize, and to bring that spark uh, alive again. So we are all of light. Stepping into our light is why we are here.
Again, this is, I, it may be, or I don't know about the listeners, but for me, the next question is that how do I step into light? How do I? It is, yes, it sounds easy.
Mm,
Step into light, step into love, go with with no expectations, fear nothing, hide nothing in that particular phase, or start with a breath work, be in peace. But
Mm.
what would you say is that what could be done in our daily existence? Because as I always say, is that life is for living, not for existing. But we know that most of us we just exist. What's your thoughts on those?
There are so many different ways you can enliven and create that spark. Meditation and that breath work is one way, and we all know going back to nature, being in nature is truly where that spark is reignited. So think about, and we can look at this astrologically. I know as a Cancerian born in June, my place where I feel comfortable back with myself is the connection to water. You think about whatever your astrological sign. What is your astrological sign?
Mine is a Leo,
Right. So
fire.
fire. So understanding the sun, you need to be in the sunshine. That ignites that spark. And we think that when it's a cloudy day or it's raining, that light is gone, but it's always there. So you need to be, that will help you, uh, you know, the wind, the earth, being in nature, really just that. You think about the 432 hertz, which brings us to that place of that quiet resonance of stillness and peace. Um, we can hold that for ourselves, going quiet in meditation or being in nature. Another way is what lights you up, your joy, your passion, laughter. That reignites us, our light.
So here at times people they lose the traction about a pleasure and a true joy or
Hmm.
true happiness, because a momentary pleasure would give them that particular sense of aha, or it could give that particular sense of that I have achieved it, and then of course it's forgotten. But the true joy, what you're talking about, the true happiness, and when you mention about the sunshine, I always tend to say is that yes, currently in Vancouver it's quite gray, but how can I get a sunshine within my own self that I so that I can shine it around? If not to
Hmm.
anybody else, at least to my own self.
You closing your eyes, following the breath, and you think about the breath in, the breath out, reigniting that within you. Uh, and I also know your passion for writing, right? You've written a book. Going to your passions where you get into that flow state where you settle, that you again, you're going to dip into the 432 hertz, that energy of complete kind of calm, peace, and resonance. Going and doing those things that bring you that experience. That too helps to reignite that. Uh, those moments. It's moments. It's yeah, of peace. I hope that makes sense.
Uh, so for the uninitiated, what is this 4321 method?
432 hertz is a sound frequency. You think about if you go to all these sound frequencies,
Okay, the hertz. Okay.
yeah, the hertz, the sound frequencies, right? Energy is transmitted in a variety of different ways, and sound, light, air, um, just even the sound of nature, the rustling of the trees, that all has that sound frequency that calms us, right? That brings us back to that original state of presence within. So um, and I also feel like we acclimate to certain frequencies. I love listening to classical music. I love listening to piano. I mean, I'm going to there. there are sound frequencies or there are experiences that are going to feel good and right for me to enliven that light, that presence of connection. Um, Sometimes we also overthink it,
Okay, yes, of
right?
course. We are humans. That's a
Right.
quality which has been driven into us.
I mean, we think it's so far away from us where the light, we can talk, go deep in another kind of way, but it's there. It's never separate from us. We are all of the same place of that oneness, right? We are that ocean within the drop.
Of course. And we forget that the drop that we are separate from the ocean. It's only when we realize we are also the ocean. We are the ocean.
The drop in the ocean. We are the ocean within the drop. Rumi is a beautiful, beautiful
Yes.
poet. So, and you think about of all the our artists back in time and what they experienced in order to cultivate, writers, painters, singers, whatever, even coders, they were all going to have these experiences where in what we're doing kind of lights us up, but also lights and enlivens other people. So we need each other.
Of course. Of course. For a long time, I would be thinking about because the way my podcast has really taken off has been fantastic. And then at times I think, in what way is it helping? But then there's something whenever I'm sitting on the other side of the screen and when I'm having this conversation, there is such a stirring within my own self. That's the reason I don't go in for any scripted questions.
Mm,
And I know more the questions that come out comes from a true space. And
mm,
that just fills me with an inherent sense of being, a sense of joy. And of course, there are times wherein I'm having guests and they totally break down emotionally about what they
mm,
have gone through and what,
mm,
but again, it is a cry of hurrah that what they have overcome. And that makes me feel so empowered that I have been in that journey with them. Anyway, this is not about me. It's
yeah.
just being, yeah, please tell.
Well, I think I know that so many of the stories are touching people's lives, but think about, okay, you had to come up with the idea, the inspiration to write your book, to create the podcast. So you cultivated that, you created that. If you didn't do that, the number of people's lives you wouldn't have touched. So we leap to those risks because that's where life and our light is reignited. So, and think about even how we connected. It just, if I hadn't had the idea that I felt I needed to show up on LinkedIn back in June, if I hadn't had that idea, I would not have connected with you. I would not be here.
So true.
So those ideas, those inspirations, those experiences, yeah, as they happen, be curious and follow them and see what happens, because that's where life happens. It's in the doing, it's in the becoming.
Fantastic. So, I would love this conversation to continue, but just be mindful of time.
Yes.
If there is something, thoughts that you would like to tell to the listeners, anything. I mean, you can take your time and space about about things like being true,
Mm,
being open, being in allowance,
mhm.
and growing, whether it is in love or in joy or anything. What would you love to tell the listeners on what can help them to be a better human, a better energy, a better soul?
I feel we need to go back to dream the big dream, to cultivate imagination. And the only way we can get there is to developing a practice of presence for peace. Write down your dreams, because it's through the dreaming that you create these possibilities of expanding. You're coming up with those ideas, you're coming up with the dream, and they're happening for a reason. And jumping in and taking the risk into following them, because that's when your world breaks open. That's right. That's what breaks us open, rather than wait for the catalyst. Dream the big dream and take the leap of faith. There's nothing um, but goodness that'll come from that experience. Just like the bird, I want to say one thing.
Sure.
When the bird, I have a nest of robins who are at my front door, and I think about, does the bird know when it leaps out of the nest that it can't fly? No, it knows it can soar.
Yes, that's I think so is left for a lot of us. We are so scared of still sitting on the branches, and we not know how to take the next risk. I can totally empathize on that. Is that when I got into this mode of writing the book, I cut off a lot of things, including my own good paying job, just to follow the dream. And here I am. Anyway, guys, what we just heard was a conversation, at least for me, was amazingly so strong, so powerful, and it did stir within me about the possibilities. Possibilities is a small word, but infinite possibilities of what is possible. Believing, working on not just dreams, but big dreams. Here we saw is that when Christy, the passion she has, when she's talking about what she believes in, for me, it was opening my own mind to a dimension of insight, a dimension of light. It was about being curious about the power of intuition,
Mm.
the unseen. Connect with her, have a talk. You will see what are the forces influencing our choices. Let it be a journey that you could look back and say, that was a good one. So, Christy, thank you so very much for your space and time.